Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Do you struggle with being negative? Most people struggle with being negative. Being positive takes action. Using simple positive actions will allow you to win each day. Being negative is a discharge in 3 key areas. Number 1, your mindset to achieve your goals. Number 2, your influence on self and others. And number 3, your ability to learn and grow. Implementing simple positive actions into your life will allow you to win each day. Being positive takes action, so let's work to be positive. To receive a weekly video email from me on one simple positive action, subscribe to the series by going to chargepodcast.com to get the link to register today. Life is short, so why live your life by default when you can live your life by design? Make it a great day.
Welcome, Chargers. We're glad to have you back again for another great podcast. I'm telling you, we are flying through third quarter. It is already the last month of this quarter. I tell you, time flies, but the thing is, as business owners, it's about what you do with that time that matters. And I tell you, I've got a question for you, Chargers. You know what happens when you get 2 entrepreneurs in the room at the same time? Well, you got a great conversation, and today we're going to have that because we've got another Gary with us today, and what better to have 2 Garys speaking to each other. So I'm excited about this conversation. But before I tell you all about him, let's first ask him, what problem, Gary, will you solve for our Charge Podcast listeners today?
Gary, thanks for having me. I think the 2 biggest problems entrepreneurs face, especially early on in their business cycle, is figuring out how to be present and how to be found. And we focus on helping solve that problem for entrepreneurs all the time.
Well, this is going to be a great conversation because Gary Geiman is a serial entrepreneur and a business owner himself. He's got a 30-year career that spanned owning multiple businesses and developing sales and marketing plans to assist other business owners in growing their business. Gary, it is great to have you on the Charge Podcast. Welcome.
Thanks again for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we're glad to have you today because I know as 2 serial entrepreneurs, we're going to have a great conversation. But the key is we want to really, how can we help our listeners? And I've got a lot of small business owners that listen to this podcast. And I think they're always challenged with we're challenged with a lot of the same things as business owners. And one of those is that foundation of really converting that sales strategy for our small business. So can you share with us, you talk about being present and found, and we'll get there. But first we have to have that foundation because every business thrives off of sales strategy and making sales for their business, no matter which business type of business it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of business owners get into business for multiple reasons, but sometimes it'll kind of cut itself down to 2 things. One, something happened in your life that caused you to start that business, i.e. you got fired from a job. Or 2, you're passionate about something and you're turning that passion into a money-making endeavor, right? I mean, I think that accounts for the majority of businesses that get started by an entrepreneur. We're not talking about investors or things like that, but an entrepreneur. And in those cases, unless they came from a sales background, most entrepreneurs don't have sales ability or sales skills. I grew up in sales. 19 years old, started selling lawn care, and that continued throughout my life. So I learned how to talk on the phone, how to create conversations, how to follow a sales process, and more importantly, how to follow up. When, as an entrepreneur, let's say you come from a service side to where you were a really great technician, so you started a business, probably had communication skills where you talk to customers, but not really closing the deal. And we get caught up in that close. And really, money is made in the follow-up, being relentless on asking for the business, because no doesn't always mean no. It just means not right now. And if you take no as finite, as final, then you're missing out on a large piece of revenue for your business. So small business owners, entrepreneurs need to get a very effective follow-up strategy that includes multiple touch points. Like, the hardest thing to do is to call somebody up or get in their face and close them right then, because they don't know you, so they can't like you, and they can't trust you to give you money, right? So there has to be that bond building approach. And if you develop a multi-touch follow-up process, you can convert those people that you present to at a higher level. And the numbers that we've run across multiple businesses, it's almost half of the revenue you create is created because of follow-up that happens at least 7 days or longer after that initial sales conversation. So getting into a follow-up habit, developing a follow-up process, and as much as possible automating it will help entrepreneurs be successful in creating revenue in their sales process.
Yeah, I love that, because I think in follow-up is so many times we make the pitch or we give the proposal and then we're done. I just followed up on one that was, I've done multiple follow-ups before, but now it's gone about 90 days, but I have every 30 days now, they get a little email from me as a reminder. And I found out that it's not dead, that I actually still have an opportunity. They're not ready yet, but guess what happens? They went on, and 30 days from now, they're going to get another response, because I passed that stage of early on where I don't want to bug every week. But now I am every 30 days, they're still in there. And until they tell me no or yes, they're going to still get a follow-up message with me. And I think that's so important. So I appreciate you sharing that. And it doesn't matter what type of business, we've both had small businesses. It can be a lawn and garden, like you said, someone that cuts grass and stuff that you don't get their business this year. I tell you the best time to keep following up with them, because if they're not happy with their service, then you can come in and be that person. And it can be heating and air conditioning. So we're talking about any type of business, but really also from some of our small business owners that you're listening to, that you're service-based, you worked with a lot of service-based businesses. And I think you kind of mentioned with being present and found is some of the challenges that all businesses have, but let's take it to that level. What are some things that you were talking about when you mean that we're going to help them be present and then be found in the marketplace?
Yeah, so being present refers more to social media platforms and those communities where people exist, your prospects, and being found relates to Google or search. You want your company to show up when they search for the services that you provide. So we look at it from a couple different perspectives. First of all, with social is about consistent and content. And business owners, we get a little caught up in the content piece because we think our business is really, really interesting. And really, people want to do business with people that they can relate to. So it's all about being engaging and entertaining with your content. You think about the video that went viral a couple of years ago now on TikTok of the guy skateboarding, drinking the Dr. Pepper, and the song that came on that now, which was I believe from the 70s, and now kids from today know that song, right? And what did he do there? Well, he produced a piece of content. Guy wasn't even an entrepreneur, but he produced a piece of content that people were interested in, that engaged with, and that shared it. And then he took that piece of content and he made money off of it without that as his goal. So content should be one of three things we follow. An E3 method should be entertaining, engaging, or educating. And really all content should be as engaging as possible. And so how do you get to that point to where your content is that way? Well, being authentic, being real, being an individual. People want to know who you are. If you go to my social media stuff, I talk more about my life than I do my business. When I'm on stage, I talk about, my failures and shortcomings and misgivings more than I do about my success, because I want to relate to people that struggle and have issues in that struggle. Because, hey, I was there. Sometimes I still go back there. Like, you don't get to a point on the mountain that says you're successful, you'll never be, you'll never have failure again, right? So that's why I do those things. And as a home service business, or maybe you have an e-commerce business, the content that you produce needs to be both taking them back to your business, but also helping them understand that personal level of your business. And then it needs to be consistent. I'll have some of our onboarding conversations sound like this. Say, how often do you post to social media? Oh, I post a lot. Okay, what's a lot? 3 to 5 times a week. That's not a lot. Now, if it had said 3 to 5 times a day, I'd have said, okay, you're kind of on target. You got to look at Facebook, Instagram, all of the platforms similar to television. If you remember, you and I remember the TV guide that came weekly in the newspaper, right? And you'd look at the TV guide to see when your show was playing one time, because then every week it played at the same time every single week. Well, that's how the algorithms work in social media. The more consistent you are at putting out content the same time over and over. Gary, you have a podcast. If I had to guess, you're releasing it on the same day, the same time, so that it's consistent, right? And that is the consistency. So you're present. The other ways to be present are in your community. Belong to associations, sponsor events, sponsor little league teams, and just get your brand in as many places as possible. Obviously, it's based on your budget, but you can do things for free as well. And so seek out those things, be available, be present. And then being found is all about making sure you have your search platform working for you. Number one is your website. We preach having a WordPress website. Now, if you're in e-commerce, then you're probably going to a Shopify top platform. But both of those have the ability and give you customization abilities that are easy to help your website be found in search. The other piece of it is, if you're a local business, Google Maps, having a Google Maps listing is critical to the success of a local business, because when you search for services locally, you want to make sure that you're found, and the best place for you to be found is in Google Maps. Number one, you need to go to business.google.com, make sure you have a Google Maps listing, fill out everything, and then begin to get reviews, begin to add photos, and begin to add pictures to that listing on a consistent basis. Like, you don't have to necessarily go out, hire an SEO expert to be found on maps. You just, again, have to be consistent. And so making sure that consistency reigns in your social media approach and in that Google Maps listing, to where you're adding content consistently over and over again, will allow you to begin to be present and to be found. And as you're creating revenue because of that, then you can start investing in other pieces of online and digital marketing. But those two things is where an entrepreneur needs to start and get consistent with that activity on a daily basis.
Yeah. And one of the things I love that you talk about, Gary, is, we hear it all the time, but consistency is one of those words that I tell you, I have 2 words that I think are so important for anything you want to do: discipline and consistency. Mm-hmm. Because if you are disciplined about putting up on social media, like you talked about, if you are disciplined about, making sure that you have those things, and then you're consistent in those efforts, that will get you the return. But what happens is, so many times, because we are entrepreneurs, and you and I know this as well as they do, that we get shiny object syndrome, and we're kind of like a squirrel. We're going to go for that next shiny object. But as business owners, when you are consistent and disciplined in what you're doing, you're going to really make a difference to it. It really becomes a key in your business. And kind of my follow-up to that, and it may be part of what you shared there, but I'm curious is, what do you feel is that number one marketing source that all businesses should really utilize for growth within their business? We've talked about social media and Google. Those are definitely platforms, but how do we get that consistent to really allow us to grow within that in our business?
Create raving fans for customers. And, when you bring on a customer, or you're talking to a prospect, you start that process of creating that raving fan by telling them, hey, we want to create a 5-star experience for you. We want you to be completely satisfied. And by doing that, then at the end of your transaction, or if it's a continuous relationship, you can ask for a couple of things. You can ask for them to review you because, hey, if you received 5-star service, can you let others know? And if you were completely satisfied beyond your wildest dreams and this was the best service you've ever experienced, I'm sure you want to tell your family and friends. And creating that messaging, number one, and then creating a process around asking for referrals. Like you can't just create the process, like you got to ask. If you don't ask, you're not going to eat. And you have to come up with a process. So a referral process that can be used by almost anybody is this. Hey, you have that conversation, you've completed the service, or you've sold them whatever it is you're selling them. Did we meet the expectations that we created, that you're completely satisfied and you receive 5-star service? Absolutely. Well, I'm sure you have other family and friends that probably need this. And what I want to do is incent you to tell them about us. And anytime that you send us a customer, I'm going to give you a gift card. And I would make that gift card, of course, relevant to the price that you're paying, or that someone is paying you for services and products. But I would make that gift card be right around that 10% mark of a sale, right? So if it's $500, that gift card's $50. Why a gift card and not cash? Well, give them a gift card to a restaurant. When they use that gift card to that restaurant, they remember you. And if it's multiple times that they get to use that gift card, they remember you. And creating a process like that or something similar around referrals. And then if you have a team, getting your team involved and engaging in that same process will help you get business referred from other customers. And then that's when you start scaling and having growth. Look, you can pay for ads. You can create content like crazy, get yourself ranked #1 for multiple keywords, and that's going to definitely drive business. But if you look at the companies that are worth billions of dollars, we're talking billions, it's because they create either a FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Or they create an experience for people that others talk about and tell others, and then so we're all drawn into it. When Apple first introduced its iPhone, they had already had fans around their iPod. So there was a group of people, FOMO, can't miss out on that phone, right? We didn't even really know what it was in 2007, 2006 when they started talking about it. And so we didn't want to miss out on that smartphone. So we went to Apple. Then there were others of us who had a great experience with iPods. Oh, got to get this because we know it's going to be a great product. And so using that mindset is going to help you scale. And scaling is when you begin to see the fruits of your benefits and you're actually owning a business and not being a business owner and working in your business.
Well, Gary, you don't even know it, but boy, you hit me at the heart on that one, because the iPhone, I was in the wireless business back in those days. And as agents, when it first came out, we could not sell that phone. And I'm telling you, you know how hard it was to be a dealer, because it was the hottest thing that was on the marketplace. And we had to convince them into another product, or try to be able to make that sale. So, you bring back some memories and some days that I think I lost some of this hair because of that reason and stuff. And it got grayer because of that. But what he's saying is that raving fans, and I love that, because I've used the philosophy by a buddy of mine, Shep Hyken, early in my business, called moments of magic. You're creating magic. You're making them want to come back to you. And customer service, it still comes down to, you deliver a great product, you're going to get people that's willing to refer you. I mean, they talk about all the time in reviews, and you can then ask for those reviews and have those Google. I know a high-vac company, and I'm going to kind of go into this with small business owners in those home service areas now, is that, he has over 600 reviews on his Google reviews, and he's getting them, I won't say daily, but weekly. He's getting them. So they're fresh too. So the problem we get into is we all think we got to get reviews, and we get 10 or 20 reviews, and then we don't do anything for 3 years. Well, the problem is people see that. So with the reviews, but he's got a little system in place and he's getting that. And I got to talk to him the other day and I said, what is your secret of getting the reviews? One, he's innocent of staff to let them know about it and talk about it. And then they do a nice follow-up that's there. But I asked him, what's the difference that you think it's making in our business? He goes, oh, we can tell. We've got a specific number that calls from when they Google heating and air conditioning near me, and they know that they're getting tons of calls, and it's because of those reviews on there. And that's the same thing you're talking about with family and friends. So my question with that long comment was, how do you help? Because I know this is what you do with your company and stuff. Home service business owners kind of really grow their business.
So home service and just service in general, we work with them to create these systems around social and search, because a lot of times either business owners don't have the bandwidth or they don't have the knowledge. And so we bring that to them and work with them as their partner to create that, and continually put that messaging out there, both for social and search. And there's, multiple activities that are created around that, but we do the work and we put in place something that, is kind of our mindset around being consistent with marketing. We try to automate as much as possible, delegate for that customer to us, or innovate a marketing process. If you can do one of those three things or multiple of those three things in your sales and marketing processes, you're going to be ahead of the game against most of your competition, if not all of your competition. The guy who owns the HVAC company has a review system in place that's constantly creating those reviews. And while reviews don't make you rank, they convert. So what that means is 3 people show up in that Google Maps list, Google Maps search when somebody Googles HVAC near me, and he's got 600 reviews. Odds are most of his competitors have 100 or less. So what's up with this guy that's got 600, right? And being consistent around that process allows him to convert. So automating, delegating, innovating marketing and sales processes to get you found, get you noticed, get you leads, and help you convert those leads is what we do. That's a very high level, obviously, but that's what we do for our customers to help them dominate their market.
Well, and Gary and his team have a great website up. So I would tell you, we're going to give the website. I'm going to have you give that here in just a minute. We'll have it in show notes because we know that people are busy, that they're exercising, doing something else. They're not just waiting to listen to our podcast. So we'll have easy that they can access it. But I checked out your website and you've got some great information on there and, some testimonials that shows the work that he does and his team does. So again, if you're struggling in these areas, the question is business owners, it's really a book that I read recently. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan wrote it's not who, it's how, and stuff. And, how can I make that difference and stuff? Sometimes it's not always that you have to be the person doing it. And as a business owner, we've got to start realizing that, that we don't have to be the expert in everything, but find the right company to work with. Like I said, Gary's got some great information out there that he'll share with you first and then reach out to him and give them that opportunity, because that's the key as a business owner. But don't say, I'm going to do it tomorrow, because your sales matter. And that's why we started where we started is you've got to increase your sales, because then get your ROI, and Gary and his team will help you do that. And then you'll make more sales, and then you're going to be able to continue that process and getting those systems in. And we talked about some really, I call them foundational steps to really help your business take off and scale that next level to it. So Gary, I really appreciate your time. Will you share with them now how they can reach out to you and check out your all's website and reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is Salvo now, SALVONOW.com. Salvo is a French and German military term that means shoot all your guns at once. And in sales and marketing, I believe that you need to be pushing out multiple places where people can find you. So that's why our website is. You can also go to DMN8partners.com and it'll redirect you to that. There's a lot of good information as well as more information about what we do. My suggestion to most business owners is, look at when you go to our website, look at the About Us and go to Foundations. And we talk about on our foundations what our mission statement is. and what our core values are. And so you can understand how we treat our customers, and that shows in our reviews. You can also find me on social media, facebook.com/Gary Geiman, and find content there. So those both places are great ways to get in touch with me.
Great. I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm not going to let you go yet. You still got to go through the recharge round. You're not out of the gauntlet yet, but I appreciate all the information you shared for the business owners. And remember, we'll have it in show notes because we know you're busy people. That's chargepodcast.com. All you've got to do is go there, all the show notes, all of his social media feeds. You're going to see all that information there, the websites, click on them and go chargepodcast.com. Got 2 questions for you, Gary, before I let you go. The first question I ask every customer is, of course, the podcast is called Charge for a Reason. That's an acronym or mantra of mine, is create habits around real goals every day. What habit do you think's led to success in your life?
Biggest habit that's led to success in my life is persistence, not giving up. And really, you need to create habits around persistence. I would say this to give kind of a nugget to business owners. My strength is getting leads. Like, that's what my strength is in any business. And if you focus on acquiring 5 new contacts, this isn't a lead, 5 new contacts a day that are potential customers, name, address, phone number, email, and you communicate with them simply with an email or a text, you will begin to build your database of prospects. And it's 5. It's not 50. It's not 100. It's 5. Focus on that and be persistent in doing that and consistent in doing that. You'll grow your prospect database.
Excellent. Appreciate you sharing that. How about the last one is, we've all made mistakes. We've all had failures. And sometimes, we get on here and even as experts, we've had those failures. What's the biggest failure? If you had that do-over, what would you change about it?
Biggest miss that I've had in my life, and I think a lot of business owners fail in this area sometimes, is not realizing that we're multidimensional people, and we need to focus on our relationships, focus on our family, focus on our friends. And business is important, making money is important, but building into your kids, making sure that you and your spouse have a solid relationship, that's more important than the money. If you make sure all those things are in order, then it's a lot easier to be successful in your business. It's really hard to work on your business when those things are flawed. And, there have been times in my life to where those things were flawed to the nth degree. And it's something that you have to focus on in order to improve. It's not going to, if you're failing at it right now, you're not going to fix it overnight, but just start becoming present to them and start building into them. And you'll see a change throughout your life.
Well, I knew I liked Gary before he came on the podcast just because of his name, but now I know I like him even more because you're talking something that I believe wholeheartedly in. Too many of us as entrepreneurs, we drive for success and we forget about what we really want is significance. And significance to those people that's closest to you, because it goes so fast that if you don't have them, you can get to the top of the mountain, but it's pretty lonely if you're up there by yourself. It's more fun if you bring people with you, and if you grow your business that way, as well as your family and the friends, the people alongside. So thank you for that reminder, Gary. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Gary, we've wrapped up. I think we've given them some great information. I can't thank you enough for being on the podcast today and sharing with our business owners. Again, share with them real quick that website. We'll still have it in show notes for them, but give it to them one last time.
Yeah, salvonow.com, salvonow.com. Look forward to communicating or answering any questions that you might have. Okay, Chargers. We know it's September, but you know what? You still got time to make things happen yet this year that will propel you to help make 2023 be even a better year this year. So let's go out and make it happen. Go check the show notes at chargepodcast.com. Check out Gary's website and his team. And if you're interested in them, look out and reach out to them and get the information and see how they can help you with your business. Make it a great day, Chargers. We'll see you next week. Be back here for another great podcast. Thanks for joining us.
This podcast is ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.